Every single day, we're faced with what seem like simple yes or no questions, but the answers behind them can be incredibly complex. Well, it turns out there's a really powerful tool in machine learning that's designed to do exactly that, to make those calls. It's called logistic regression, and today we're going to break down how this amazing yes-no machine really works.
Just think about your inbox for a second. Every single email that comes in has to get sorted. Is this important or is it junk? That's a classic yes or no problem happening hundreds of times a day. Or, hey, what about a decision with much higher stakes? Based on a pile of financial data, will a bank say yes to a loan? Again, it all comes down to a yes or a no. So the big question is, how can a machine possibly make these kinds of judgments? Well, that's where the star of our show comes in. Let's get formally introduced to the tool that powers all of these decisions. It's called Logistic Regression, and at its heart, it's a model that does something really smart. It doesn't just guess an answer, it calculates the probability of something happening. It's all about figuring out the chances, the likelihood of a yes versus a no. And this gives you the perfect bird's eye view of the whole thing. We can really think of it as a yes/no machine. See how it works? Real-world data goes in on one side, it runs through this neat three-step process in the middle, and then a final, clean decision pops out on the other side. The real secret sauce is in those 3 steps. So, you ready? Let's pop the hood and see what's going on inside. We can actually break this machine's entire thinking process down into a simple 3-step journey. It's this simple. First, it calculates the odds. Then, it turns those odds into a proper probability. And finally, it uses that probability to make the final call. Yes or no. Let's walk through each one. All right, step 1 is all about weighing the evidence. Before it can do anything else, the model just looks at all the data it has and compares the chance of a yes happening against the chance of a no. Kind of like the scales you see here. Which way does the evidence tip? But here's the thing. Odds by themselves can be kind of messy, right? They aren't super intuitive. So to make them useful, the machine needs a special trick, a way to turn them into a clean percentage. And it does this with a surprisingly elegant mathematical tool. And this right here, this is where the magic happens. Step 2. The model takes those odds it calculated and plots them onto this beautiful S-shaped curve. This curve is created by something called the sigmoid function. And its entire job is to squish any number, big or small, into a value somewhere between 0 and 1. Now, what makes this sigmoid function so perfect for the job is that S-shape. It doesn't matter how wild the odds are, way up high or way down low, the function guarantees the output is always going to be a nice clean probability between 0, that's a 0% chance, and 1, 100% chance. It basically translates all that messiness into pure clarity. Okay, so now we have a probability. Let's say there's a 75% chance an email is spam. That's super useful information, but it's not a final decision, is it? It's not a yes or a no. So how does the machine actually pull the trigger and make the final call? And that brings us to the final step. Making the call. The machine uses a decision boundary, a preset rule called a threshold. You can just think of it as a line in the sand. And the rule could not be simpler. If the probability that the machine calculated is higher than that line in the sand, the answer is yes. If it's lower, the answer is no. And most of the time, that threshold, that line, is set right smack in the middle at 0.5 or 50%. So if there's more than a 50% chance of something happening, the machine says yes. If there's less than a 50% chance, it says no. It really is that straightforward. So there you have it. From odds to probability to a final decision. That's the whole process. Now for the fun part. Let's look at how this simple but incredibly powerful machine is actually being used out there in the real world. And the truth is, the applications are everywhere you look. It's the engine running the spam filter that keeps your inbox clean, saying, yes, this is junk. It's what helps banks figure out the risk of a loan, answering, no, this person is not likely to repay. In medicine, it can help predict the probability of a disease based on a patient's data. And businesses use it all the time to spot customers who are likely to cancel their subscriptions. It's a real workhorse of data science. And that's really the key takeaway here. If you remember one thing, remember this. Logistic regression is this elegant engine that takes complicated, messy data and boils it all down to a single, clear, actionable number, a probability that gives us a solid reason to say yes or no. So that leaves us with one final thought. Now that you know how this yes-no machine actually works, what's a binary question in your world, big or small, that it could help you answer? Thanks for tuning in.